Okay.
As I used to say on this channel all the time, it ain't deep, but it's real. This is a little bit parallel to the type of advice I've given to video game addicts. I had people write back to me in response to my videos about video game addiction, what have you. And it's the easiest thing in the world to say to someone who's played video games compulsively all their life, oh, well, you should get other hobbies. You should get other interests. And their problem is, from when they were 6 years old or something, this has been their only hobby and interest. And it's not easy. It's not like you can just flip a switch and suddenly become, a profound intellectual person with a lot of meaning in your life that makes playing video games seem relatively meaningless or trivial, all right? These women cannot just flip a switch and become substantive intellectuals with humanitarian interests and historical interests and what have you that make Instagram and their physical appearance seem petty or trivial in their lives. And for someone like Kristen Leo at age 28, in many ways, it's too late.
When you compare yourself to somebody else, it's just such a waste of time, and I know it's so hard because even myself, working on social media, knowing how fake it is, knowing that there's just so much wrong with it, I still find myself comparing myself to other girls, and that's where the unfollow button is a great tool. And I know it can be hard sometimes, but this is an act of self-love. Go through who you're following. If anyone even makes you the slightest bit like insecure, feeling not good about yourself, unfollow them.
Am I the only one that goes on Instagram, ends up feeling like shit, and like I need a million different procedures done to my body and to my face in order to look like I'm not a troll that just crawled out of a gutter? Am I the only one that gets irritated when scrolling through endless pictures that just make you feel like your life is never gonna be enough and never gonna amount to anything? I just can't scroll on the feed anymore.
I remember I did this like 2 years ago and I unfollowed so many people, and people even messaged me like, hey, why'd you unfollow me? Do you have a problem with me? And I was like, honestly, no. Like, I love you as a person, but sometimes I feel insecure when I see your photos.
If you're focused only on appearance, how do you grow on the other fields of your life? How do you get better? How do you become the greatest version of yourself that you can be if all you care about is your appearance? When those people post pictures of themselves where they look perfect and you already have sort of an idea of how great their lives are, and then you get it in a picture form and in more pictures and more pictures of all the things that they do and what a great life they have, it wrecks your confidence.
Why?
It wrecks your confidence, and as much as you try to reason it out that, their life isn't always perfect, that, but it's really hard to reason with that.
Why?
It happens in an instant. You're just scrolling on the feed, you see the picture, and you immediately feel bad, and then you keep scrolling and see someone else's picture and then feel even worse. Yeah, I used to be a teenager, and I was insanely affected by images. And if a younger generation is getting influenced to value appearance over anything else and is told, and if you want to be pretty, you gotta lighten your skin, you gotta do lip fillers, you gotta get boob job, you gotta stop eating, you gotta drink skinny tea and wear girdles on your waist, like, ugh. I'm really not lying when I say that Instagram makes me feel hideous. It makes me feel like a monster. Like I see this perfect picture of this beautiful girl, and then I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh God, kill it. It's just so intense how horrible it makes me feel about myself. And I think that I have enough common sense to be like, okay, this is making me not like myself, so I'm not gonna expose myself to this.
As I used to say on this channel all the time, it ain't deep, but it's real. This is admittedly a shallow issue, but shallow does not mean silly. Shallow does not mean unimportant. I think this is an issue that's tremendously important for a lot of men and women watching this channel, a lot of men and women who never will. The videos I'm quoting here are of two women, and I can't even say young women. Kristen Leo is 28. I think the other woman we're quoting, I think she's about 26, 27 also. These are fully grown adult women. And they're struggling to deal with their own shallowness and stupidity on camera. And from my perspective, they are utterly failing to do so. They're utterly failing to ask the most simple and obvious comparative questions about what this all means in their own lives and on planet Earth. Okay? I raised the question here in text on screen. Why is it you only talk about physical beauty here? Why don't you make any comparisons to other sorts of accomplishments in life, intellectual or otherwise? Now, we're living through a period of time when it's become a bit popular again, probably just due to economic necessity, for people to buy an empty plot of land and build their own house. You might know about the tiny house fad, so on and so forth. Obviously, that's as old as time itself. Some of my grandparents, I think on both sides of the family, built their own houses at different times. And it's something I can imagine doing myself. All right? I will never be a great architect. I will never be a brilliant architect. I will never even build a great house, right? But I can build my own house. I can build a house that is in some sense uniquely mine, uniquely my own. And there may be some satisfaction in that. I can build a house the best I can. Most of us watching this video, I think this is true of myself, I don't think I could ever be a great novelist, you know? And why would I? So, I mean, I haven't spent my life practicing the art or the craft or what have you. I haven't even spent my life reading novels. I really read nonfiction, okay? But I could write a novel that's uniquely my own, right? That's distinctively of me and by me. And not for me, it's for you, it's for the audience, right? And there's some value in that. And yet it's not in these areas. It's not in creative writing or architecture or anything else that these women feel insecurity. It's not. I mean, there's this poem, Ozymandias, you know, look on my works, ye mighty, and feel ashamed or something. They don't feel ashamed of themselves looking at the pyramids of Egypt. They don't look ashamed of themselves looking at the accomplishments of Napoleon. What did Napoleon accomplish by your age? They don't look at Julius Caesar, and they don't look at any of the great figures of history, right? Ancient, modern, dark ages, or in between. No. These are women who choose to look at models on Instagram. And that's what their sense of self-worth is attached to. That's what this puzzle of insecurity is attached to. I just want to add here the observation that I see throughout our society, and I'm speaking broadly here of the modern Western world, I see this remarkable pattern of beautiful women only being friends with other beautiful women. I think that's a pattern that starts in primary school. I think it's a pattern that starts in childhood when people aren't even really aware of the social or sexual value of beauty or human inequality, when they don't think of it in those terms. When they definitely don't think of beauty as a competition for the attention of the opposite sex or a competition for popularity on Instagram or for the possibility of getting a modeling contract or something else. And I think that people are really made more brittle by just not hearing the perspective of those who are really ugly. You know, I think there's something to be said for intellectuals hearing the perspective of people who are stupid or even who are mentally disabled. It would be a digression to get into, but I think that's part of the positive value of democracy. Like, you may be an expert on solar power, but can you come out and present at City Hall an argument for the advantages and disadvantages of solar power that the average man can understand, or even someone of below average education and intelligence can understand? There's actually a sense in which we ourselves are trained and benefit by presenting something from our own area of expertise to a general audience, or, you know, that brilliant people actually do benefit from having friends and colleagues who are not so brilliant. And there's no doubt in my mind that someone like Kristen Leo would have a very different perspective on the world if she had just one friend who was really born with a misshapen face. Like, you know, no, I don't, yeah, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, we all know this. There's a sense in which some people are born with chromosomal disorders. Some people are born so misshapen and so ugly that the chance for them to ever be married, the chance for them to ever have a single boyfriend is slim, where they're not thinking about life at all from this perspective of, can I compete to be the top of the Instagram heap? Or, does her boyfriend think I'm prettier than she is? Or this kind of, no. And I want to add too, apart from the beauty is in the eye of the beholder distraction, there's also this question of, oh, well, beauty is culturally relative. Okay, this problem exists in every culture, in every continent. You can know Japanese people who are basically by accident of birth, of course, to some extent, health and fitness come into it, but fundamentally, they are born so beautiful that they never need to get a job, and they're always offered jobs. They're offered a role as a model and a TV presenter and so on from a very early age. They're told they're talented and have these advantages just because of their appearance. And you can meet people at the opposite extreme who all their lives are the object of pity and derision because they're so ugly, their face is so misshapen. That's true in Japan. And you can meet people from Africa who are at the opposite extremes. So even if within their own culture, the precise fine-tuning of who is the most beautiful, who gets the modeling contract or what have you differs, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the stark inequality between the different levels of beauty and ugliness. And as I say, it's really disturbing to me that what I see with the female of the species, I don't see this with men. There are handsome men who have ugly male friends. I've got to tell you, in Western culture, I don't see it. What I see is with women organizing themselves into tribes where they're only friends with other women who are equally beautiful as themselves. And then, of course, this is normalizing and creates a kind of echo chamber. So if you're a woman who spends a lot of time on hair and makeup, all your friends are about the same level of attractiveness and they all spend time on hair and makeup. You're a woman who goes to the gym for 6 hours a week and it becomes normal to you. You have all female friends who go to the gym for 6 hours a week, so on and so forth. And you end up, I think, with this really strange, myopic, and brittle perspective of the people we've seen on camera now. All right? This is a little bit parallel to the type of advice I've given to video game addicts. I had people write back to me in response to my videos about video game addiction, what have you. And it's the easiest thing in the world to say to someone who's played video games compulsively all their life, oh, well, you should get other hobbies. You should get other interests. And their problem is, from when they were 6 years old or something, this has been their only hobby and interest. And it's not easy. It's not like you can just flip a switch and suddenly become, a profound intellectual person with a lot of meaning in your life that makes playing video games seem relatively meaningless or trivial, all right? These women cannot just flip a switch and become substantive intellectuals with humanitarian interests and historical interests and what have you that make Instagram and their physical appearance seem petty or trivial in their lives. And for someone like Kristen Leo at age 28, in many ways, it's too late. All right, age 30 is coming, and she still has the mentality of a 16-year-old at best. And not, again, even amongst 16-year-olds, this would be kind of shockingly shallow and petty. And I sympathize, all right? Sympathy is an analytical tool. I can analyze this situation sympathetically and see how she's gotten herself into this mindset. Now, instinctually, in terms of evolution and every other way, competition for scarce resources makes sense. If you go to a school where there's only one good-looking boy you want, or maybe there are 2 or 3 attractive males you want, this is your situation in high school, and you're competing with the other girls for that same boy, I understand your feeling about your appearance and so on matters. If you're actually competing for the same contract as a model, or you're in a singing competition that's implicitly about how beautiful you are, and you feel you're in competition for who's the prettiest amongst the other singers, the other models, I understand. That makes sense. What we've got here is a situation where that competitive instinct has become unglued from its pragmatic function and has become generalized to be a kind of neurosis applied to the whole world, to life, to how you perceive even a website, how you perceive reality itself. Okay? And it is, as Sigmund Freud said, all neurosis is in principle sexual, all right? Of course it's sexual. Because you're not doing this with authors. You're not doing this with intellectuals. You're not doing this with architects. You're not walking through a beautifully designed building and thinking, wow, I could never come up with the blueprints for this. Even if I had all the budget in the world with my little plot of land, I could never build a house that looks like this or design an office that looks... That's right, you can't. You never will. You're never even going to try. You're never even going to, push yourself to that limit and try to accomplish something like that. In architecture, you failed from day one, No, this is only and exclusively in the domain of beauty because of the bizarre way in which beauty is at all times linked to sexual competition, even if you aren't aware that it is.